Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. Yesterday I made this easel sidestep fold card and I've had lots of lovely comments about it, so thank you very much. A couple of people have asked me to make a feminine one because I said I was concentrating on sort of a more masculine card, but they would like a feminine one. And so what I decided to do was I would show you how to make a feminine one or a more feminine one. But what I would use instead of the paper, because I know not everybody has the paper, I'd actually use the Gallery Blooms stamp and dies. So I'm going to make it in exactly the same way, it's just that I'm going to create something different for the front. Now I chose some designer series paper that I thought a few more people may have, just for the backings and everything. And I chose the Floral Impressions. I'm not worried if paper has retired, if I've had it in my box for 10 years, or if I got it yesterday. If it's the paper that works for me, then that's what I'll use. And this paper, I'm using the back of quite a floral piece. And so I'm going to be using this in Fresh Freesia. And I have my cardstock ready in Fresh Freesia, and my other designer series paper which I'm using is this beautiful bokeh paper, because that has this Fresh Freesia with just like the little circles and things on, and I thought that would make a nice element too. So I've written out the different sizes that I'm going to use, because yesterday when I made this I actually made the image smaller than we'd had written down here. If you remember, I did the cloud cover layer in this size instead. So rather than get confused, I've just written it out again to make it easier. So if you want to take a screenshot of that, and then I can just sort of make the card. Okay. Right, so let's pop those over there. I am going to be doing some colouring as well. So let's move that. Now, I've got two sets of the bases. I've got everything in Fresh Freesia and everything in basic grey. And I'm actually going to go with the bolder colour of the basic grey and the Fresh Freesia. But you could change it round so the more subtle colour was the backing, and the element on the front to make it pop was the darker colour. Okay. And I've already cut, I've cut the big one at 5.5 by 8, scored it at 1, 2 and 5, and the smaller piece I've got at 3 by 6. And I'm going to put the base of the card together and then do the stamping and the colouring at the end. Okay. So if you watched yesterday, I showed you how to fold this. I had it so the larger score piece was at the left-hand side, and all I did was I held that towards me and folded the rest of the card down, and then I turned it over, I folded it up at the score line and down like a little concertina fold. Let's just burnish that really well. And so it gives you like a W shape, or if you want to make it sort of an extended Z fold or an M, whatever you call it, that's how it should look. And then the last little piece is the one that makes the easel part, and I've just scored that over as well. And I'm going to add my designer series paper and my card for the inside. So this is the paper that I showed you. It has those flowers on the back, and rather than have the pattern run this way, I like it to run across, because those lines make your eyes travel across the card. And so this piece is the 5.25 by 2 3/4, and I'm just going to attach it. And my glue came yesterday, so I've got my new glue. I was so happy when I saw that little brown van pull up. So we're going to pop this on this middle piece. Just make sure that we've got it lined up, and that I've got the same at the left and the right. There we go. Oh, I got a little bit of glue on there. think because it's so runny because it's new. Let's just take that bit off. There we go. Okay, and then the other little piece is going to go at the bottom. It's just from the bottom of here, look, and I'm just going to put it onto there. You don't have to have two pieces that match. You could do two different pieces of paper. That would look nice too. Okay, and I'm putting it over that bottom piece, just making sure I've got that nice and level. I'm just going to move it. There we go. That's better, I think. It's up a bit there. Yeah, that's perfect now. Okay. And then I'm going to fold it up, put it to the inside, and here I'm going to put my basic white on the inside. And this white piece, you could add a stamped image, you could add a little bit more designer series paper. I've got some little pieces left actually. Let me just have a look. A narrower little piece. I'm going to put that across the bottom because I think that ties in nicely with the front. I'm going to leave a little gap. There we go. That works. Okay. Oops. Jumping out of my hand. Okay, let's move that out of the way. Now this is the piece that makes the easel fold. I'm just going to go over that with my bone folder. It's got a little piece sticking up. And I've got the card layer 4 by 2 3/4 in fresh freesia. I'm just going to attach that to the front. I did get new blades yesterday as well, so I am going to put those onto my trimmer because it certainly needs new blades. Okay, now this has that nice border, that 1/4 inch border. And then my little beautiful bokeh piece, it only has like 1/8 of an inch. I only want it to stand out just a tiny bit. Just want to give it a little, oh, that's a nice colour too. Oh, I'm going with what I've started doing now. So, but I just want to give it a little pop. If I get all the base ready, then that's going to make my job easier. Okay, so let's go to attach this. If you saw me yesterday, you remember that I always start with the bottom, and you can pop this in the middle, you can have it off to the left, wherever you want. I like this off to the left, like this. So I'm going to put glue just on the back here. It's going to be, you know, there's 1 inch there, but I don't want to glue the whole inch. I'll probably do sort of 3/4, 1/2 inch, 3/4. And that way I know I haven't got too much glue up here. It's not going to be sticking to the background or anything. I'm just going to hold it. Oops, going to hold that just for a second. This glue is so runny and it's full. So, yeah, there we go. Okay, and then I'm going to turn the whole thing over. And this piece just folds down. And can you see how there's only 1/2 inch where that card overlaps? And that's all we glue. I know you can be tempted to sort of fold it over and make this fold go along the fold of the card, but that's not what we need. We only need a little bit. And actually, I'm going to cut another piece of paper for the back, I think. I talked about that yesterday. But I think on this card, I am going to cut a piece for the back. So that will be another piece that's 5 1/4 by 2 3/4. Let me see where I just popped that paper. I dropped the piece I wanted. Excuse me. There we go. I wanted that smaller piece. This was actually a 4-inch strip that I had cut for a different project where it did run that way, but because I'm turning it that way, it won't matter. Okay, so it's going to be 5 1/4 by 2 3/4. I'm going to cut the 2 3/4 inch strip off. And then I know that this will go on another card somewhere. So that's 2 3/4. Let's chop it by 5 1/4. And there we go. And so I'm going to attach this, look, over the back there. You could put an extra piece of white on the back if you wanted, if you needed to do more writing. You could pop it on top of the designer series paper even. So close that down and put that nice back on. I like that with the backing on, I think. Just looks a little bit more finished, doesn't it? There we go. Okay, so that's our base already made. I'm going to pop that to one side while we make the piece for the front. And I've already stamped and die cut some of the flowers, and I've stamped in smoky slate. I made the card base in basic grey. Smoky slate just looked a little bit too light for me, and I liked the striking colour of the basic grey. But you could do that in the same colour that you stamp in. And I found that with this pattern, I need to pop a little bit of washi tape on my die, because otherwise I can't always see where these bits line up, and I was getting it just a little bit wrong where the stem was. So just a little tip for lining this up. And let me see, I've started to colour, and I left just a little bit. I'm looking for, oh, do you know what? I'm going to put it, no, well, I'll get a different piece. I'm going to put it on here just in case I overrun. And I'm finding sometimes that it's easier to colour once I've got the actual item cut out. Sometimes I'll do it, you know, on a whole piece of card, and then I'll put it through the cut and emboss machine, and I end up not getting it quite right, and I've spent all that time cutting and colouring. So I found now that I just sort of die cut it first and then colour. And my fresh freesia, I've only got the light fresh freesia. My dark one has run out, so I'm only going to go over with my light. I've done the leaves in Old Olive, and I think it's Mango Melody that I've got for the middle, but Daffodil Delight or one of the other yellows would work. You just go with what you've got in your craft room. So this I'm colouring quickly. I'm just putting a base down, and because I have only got the light, I can't make as many sort of subtle differences between the light and, you know, where I want shadow. But can you see how when you colour this, it's quite pink, but as it dries, it goes to that little bit darker, and I like that. Okay, so I'm just going to use the bullet end and just do some more little scribbly colouring over the darker pieces, and where I think I could, you know, put a little bit more. And as it dries a bit, you can always add a bit more in. And put this in. I know that this will dry out as well. I'll just leave an extra little bit. You can see it disappearing already. So if you do want more variation in the colouring, just make sure you've got the light and the dark blend. Okay, so that's all done. It's die cut, and I'm going to attach it to the front. And this time I'm going to put it on dimensionals so that this really stands out. I don't know, I'm going to put it that way actually, I think. Excuse me while I get dimensionals. And remember that our blends, they do bleed through the cardstock. So if you wanted to have the back of this on show, I've said once before, and I've shown you once before, I tend to cut an extra piece with no stamping on, just a white piece, and then glue the two bits together. Let me just see, where are my smaller? Here we go. I just want the smaller ones for this leaf over here and a little bit down here. There we go. take those backings off. Oh, that's a lot of backings. Once you have a layout that you like, you can always change them up. You can sort of change the dimensionals, the dimensions. You can put extra layers on. Just by using different paper, it makes it look totally different. Okay, I'm just wondering if I have any twine up here. Let me have a look. I don't think I do. I'm just going to get my twine as well, because I think I'm going to put a little bow on. Okay, and I'm going to pop a little white bow on, I think. And let's take this is the Baker's Twine Essentials. Let's wrap it round this. Make a quick little bow on this. I'm going to leave the tails quite long. And I'll pop this on with a glue dot. Some glue dots and some scissors. Find my ribbon scissors for now. You can add just whatever embellishments you have. If you only have gems, then pop gems on. If you have sequins or glitter dots, you can put anything like that on. Okay, that's still a wee bit long. Next, I'm just going to cut a tiny bit off these tails. There we go. Okay, pop that one over there. And then let's find a sentiment. I'm going to use, I think that one's a bit small. I'm going to use the Lovely Arrangements, which is the one I used for sentiments yesterday for this happy birthday. And I'm going to use the exact same one. I'm going to stamp in the grey because that's the colour of the base of my card. But I'm going to stamp in the smoky slate, which is the same as the floral piece that I did. So just a happy birthday. The stamp block. Oops. I don't need a very big scrap. Actually, that might be big enough. Make sure it's nice and straight. Yeah. Okay, and then that's what my other scissors. I don't want my ribbon scissors. I want my other. Okay, so I'm going to just chop this. I like those little angles, as you know. And then I'm going to hold this just over the top. And I've got a little scrap here of the fresh freesia. I don't know if I'm going to put it on that or if I'm going to put it on a scrap of grey. Let me have a little look. I think I'm going to put it on the grey. So let's glue this down. Oh, I've got a little dried blob on the end now. I don't want to press too hard because it's new. But I don't want it to come all squidging out. Let's put a little tiny border. I'll keep that little bit for now. Okay, and then I'm going to pop this over here. I'm going to put it on dimensionals again. know if I'm going to pop it over the end. I think I am. I think I'm just going to put it over the end of the stem here. Okay. I'm going to pop the little ones on the back. I want it to be just like, there we go. Got that. And then on my original one, I popped this little leaf element on from the dies, and I have cut some pieces in both grey and the fresh freesia. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to love. I think I like in the grey, and the leaf element is really nice. Actually, they're all really nice. Let's see. I like that one, but I like how the grey stands up in the leaf one. So I'm going to pop this same leaf, a little glue dot on the back, and then I'm just going to push it in behind that sentiment. There we go. So I'm not going to use those. Let's just clear up a little bit. And then what I've also done is I've stamped the same image on my envelope, and because these do bleed, sometimes they will bleed onto the back. So what I tend to do is I pop a little bit of card inside, like a little scrap piece, and so I'll stamp it, then I'll pop a card in, and then I'll colour it, so that if it is going to bleed through a lot, it doesn't bleed onto the back of the envelope, it'll bleed onto my scrap piece of card. So I'm not going to colour the leaves right now. What I might do is find some gems and just pop some gems down here, like I did on this one. So when you see the picture, you might find that it's got a couple of gems on as well. But there we go. So there's that same layout that I made yesterday, but this time, instead of having an image from your designer series paper, then it's just a stamped image that's coloured and cut out and popped over the top. So I hope you like that, and I hope you will give this a go. If you do, pop a picture either on my Facebook page, my Crafts by the Bow page, or I don't know if you can add a picture to YouTube. I'm not sure, but send me a picture anyway. I'd love to see them. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. I'll see you all again really soon. Take care.